Ani, my name is T. Duke, and I'm from the Saskatchewan Anishinaabe Nation located in Treaty 3 territory, but now reside in the Treaty 13 territory, North Mississauga. To share a little bit about myself, I center my community in every facet of my life, personally and professionally. I'm extremely passionate about Indigenous community development, especially within educational spaces. I am also a very proud daughter, auntie, niece, sister, cousin, friend, and I try my very best to carry myself in a way that makes my ancestors proud daily. For the first question, have I experienced racism, either lived or observed? Yes, absolutely. My community was only 20 minutes from Kenora, Ontario, which is essentially a hub to many First Nations close to the area. There's so many stories I could share, too many to count when I grew up there. But hearing the stories from family members about their experiences growing up, unfortunately, were more horrific than my own. In particular, I think of the stories my dad shared with me growing up in Kenora. And this was in the earlier times, specifically in the 70s, which was also around the same time of the 1974 Anishinaabe Park occupation. My dad shared that during this time, it was very violent. For example, it was very common that if you were alone walking down the street and you were Anishinaabe, that you would often get assaulted or have slurs come your way. Sadly, during those times, it was very clear that there was a war going on between the Anishinaabe and non-Indigenous people. And my experiences didn't carry so much violence, but I do recall constantly feeling a tension. And unfortunately, I feel like this tension still exists today. What are my thoughts on racism in sport and or education? I would like to focus on education due to my personal and professional experiences. I have been a professional student what feels like my entire life, from the start of elementary to completing my master's in education at York University back in June 2020. And when I graduated from my master's program, I thanked the person who was in a position of power at my local high school for giving up on me during my graduation year in 2003. Because whether she knows this or not, she was the motivation I needed to get to where I'm at today. Everything from that experience pushed me to prove her wrong. But what I learned during my time in university and what I wish I knew then was understanding microaggressions. Researchers define microaggressions as everyday, subtle put-downs directed towards a marginalized group, which may be verbal or nonverbal, and may demean a person's race, gender, sexual orientation, heritage, age, and even health status. Microaggressions convey disparaging messages to people because they belong or are perceived to belong to a specific group. Unfortunately, it's common that the person sending the message may not even realize that it is a microaggression, and in some cases, a microaggression can be disguised as a compliment. So what do I think all Ontarians need to know to help fight racism? I think what all Ontarians need to know, and more importantly should do, is take on actions that encompass moral courage. I was very fortunate to hear from Indigenous children and youth advocate Cindy Blackstock share her thoughts on moral courage a few years ago. And my understanding of moral courage is it helps us address ethical issues and take action when doing the right thing is not easy. It also involves the willingness to speak out and do what is right. I believe that if we carry these values that moral courage is linked to, we may be a better and stronger community that is needed to address and stop anti-Indigenous racism or racism altogether. Now, what do I think things are changing, or how are they changing around the area of racism? I think the changes in the area of racism are heavily focused on conversations right now, but I hope there is more movement towards action. For example, we're 7 years post TRC, and to my knowledge, there's still so much work that needs to be done. For example, as of 2021, out of the 94 calls to action, 14 were completed. We still have a lot of work to do. Now, what do I think some solid steps to changing this will be? Ultimately, it really is sitting with the truth for a longer time, because this is needed in order to see true change or becoming true agents of change. I also think it's important that we see education as a vessel during these challenging times we're in. I often turn to Marie Sinclair's words as a reminder. Education is key to reconciliation. Miigwech and Bamapi.